All right, I think we are live. What's up? How's it going? We made it to the end of another week. Let me make sure I'm good over here. Sorry, I'm looking away from you. I think we're good for now. Okay, so cool. So I did things a little bit different this week. I'm not doing a Facebook Live, and the reason is because I had a good conversation with a colleague of mine this week, and we talked about this whole like YouTube, Instagram content producing thing. And basically, I came to the conclusion that, I want to put my efforts towards YouTube and developing that channel and growing that channel. I'm using Instagram a bit too to try to kind of reach that audience. I've been trying to figure out exactly how I want to grow that account and where I want to put my effort on that platform. So, ultimately, I'm a business owner too. I've got a full week of stuff to do, and I got to pick and choose where I want to put my efforts. So that's why I'm making the choice. So I'm going to do the lives on YouTube, and then I'll share them via Facebook and via LinkedIn and all those places, right? Previously, what I was doing is I put like a new Facebook account up just for me and what I'm doing marketing wise as Chris O Marketing, and then I was like sharing that video on my personal account because it would get deeper audience, and I was trying to make that work and see how it was playing out, and ultimately I just didn't like it. Plus the Facebook Live really trains the system while YouTube is running too. So I think for now I'm just going to focus on YouTube, and then we'll kind of go from there. Anyways, so this week we've got a lot of really cool stuff. We've got a bit of local news that's actually turned into a bit of national news, local to Las Vegas and the Southwest region, Southwest United States region. And it inspired me to do some research and figure out what the hell's been going on with some credit card fees. We've also got some cool stuff happening with AI. Well, it's really just kind of a survey that came out, and there's some results that I want to share with you. Also, we've got Target and Office Depot are doing some really interesting things with e-commerce, which I think is very cool and very exciting. And I think it really matters for people that are buying and selling online, especially if you're like dealing with Amazon. If you're selling stuff through Amazon or you're looking at that marketplace, that bit of news will be interesting for you. Finally, we're going to wrap things up with just a little bit of news from Mailchimp. And some stuff they're doing to what I think is going to help you as a business owner make your emails more beautiful. So that's what we've got in store this week. It's going to be good. I had a hard time narrowing down the articles. There's a lot of them. As I was going through my short list, I was like, I got to say that one. I got to use that one. I got to use that one. They're all good. Last week we only did 2, and then I said I'm only going to do 2, and I even made a post. I was like, I really feel good about it, but I think that this week there's just so much good content that we've got a few articles here. So now, before I get into that, we've got the beer of the week. And the beer of the week is this one right here. We're drinking a La Fine du Monde, and it's a Belgian-style triple. So there you go, right? I'm not drinking it straight out of the bottle. Otherwise, I don't think I'd make it all the way through the live stream. I'm just sipping the beer here. But I love Belgian triples. Probably, one of my favorite styles of beer. I want to brew one day. And in fact, short story, when I lived in Wisconsin, I was part of a homebrew association, and we judged a contest where everyone had to enter in the same kind of beer, and it was a Belgian triple. So before the Belgian triple, before our club entered their picks for the contest, because it was like a regional contest, we had multiple clubs entering, we had to taste them and we had to pick them. So part of that was understanding the BJCP, whatever. It's the governing body that kind of decides what your beer flavor profile is supposed to be and how it's supposed to taste and that sort of thing. So we had to understand all those guidelines and then taste all the beers and judge them based on that. So Belgian triples are actually a beer that I know the most about for myself. I'm not saying I know the most about it. I think I barely know anything about it, to be honest with you. But as far as all the beers that I've tasted, I know the most about Belgian triple. And maybe that's why I like it so much. And this one's quite good. So, All right, let's get into the marketing stuff. So here's what happened. So I was at the store the other day. I was picking up some stuff for dinner, and I'm checking out, and I see this thing at the checkout line. I see this thing, and it's like, due to excessive bank fees, we're no longer accepting Visa credit cards. And I had a double take because I was like, what? Visa cards aren't going to be accepted at Smith's? Smith's is like not a small company, right? They're owned by Kroger, and Kroger is a big company. And Smith's has like a bunch of locations throughout all the Southwest. I think they're called different things. They're all Kroger stores, so they're called different things throughout the country. But I thought this was shocking. I was like, what? The Visa not getting accepted? Apparently they'll accept debit cards, but the credit cards are the issue. So, I did a little bit of research, and I was like, what's up with this? So what's going on is that Smith stores in Nevada and 6 other states are no longer accepting Visa credit cards as payment beginning in April. Fuel center locations are also affected, and that's the one that I think is really interesting too, because I think a lot of people use credit cards for fuel, right? So a lot of locations are being shut down now. Or not shut down, but aren't accepting Visa. So I was like, what's up with this? Like, is it just a Smith's thing? What's really the bigger thing at play here? Because usually if you hear about a company not accepting cards, it's like MasterCard or American Express, right? Visa is kind of strange. So I kept clicking through, looking at more stuff, and we'll flip over here to this thing. And forgive my screen for moving a little bit slow. I got like all these tabs open, as you can see. And I'm going to close some of them out once we get through a couple of these things. But anyway, so I started looking deeper into what's going on with Kroger. And apparently, this has been going on since August. Like, this article came out in August of 2018 in saying that a bunch of Kroger stores, like the actual Kroger brand, which if you're from the Midwest, you probably have seen Kroger stores, that Kroger brand is like, not accepting Visa. So this has been going on since at least August. And one of the comments from a dude that works for Matt Schultz, he's a chief industry analyst for CompareCards.com, which is like a lending tree company. He says that it's basically a power move to try to force Visa to knock those fees down. The battle over swipe fees has been brewing for some time, and this move by Kroger shows that it's about to escalate. This is the part that I thought was kind of interesting, is that these swipe fees account for like $90 billion in expenses for a company like Kroger and these bigger type grocery outlets, right? And the other thing too is that, when we think about 1% to 3%, is that's what that charge is for a grocery store. Apparently, and when I was reading through some of this stuff, that really eats into the margins. The margins aren't super wide for grocery stores, so that 1% to 3% really matters. So I guess the what's going on with Kroger is that they're trying to say to the Visa, like, look, man, you've got to start charging us so much, otherwise we're just not going to accept your credit card at our locations, and that's going to hurt you. So it's a big power play move, and it's been lasting for a while. August all the way up, and now they're starting Smith's locations in the Southwest starting April. So who knows what is actually going to come of that. But the next thing I thought was, well, what's Visa doing right now? And so I did a quick search for like Visa processing fees. And what comes up is Visa is increasing their fees. It's like, what? Visa's like, I don't give a shit. Bring it on, Kroger. I'll just increase the fees. Now, I don't think they've said bring it on specifically to Kroger. So I misspoke there a little bit, but they are increasing fees according to some other news outlets. And the way that they're increasing fees is kind of interesting, which is kind of like this kind of sketchy megacorp, business moves. And this is why I don't do a lot of like corporate level stuff, because the type of moves that are happening at this level are just like intense, and it's super power movie, like it's a big old chessboard, and they're just moving these huge players around. and they're moving billions and billions of dollars. And maybe I just don't have the stomach for it. Maybe eventually someday, but I don't know, man. But anyways, so Visa and MasterCard are increasing their fees, and Visa is the one we're talking about here. The thing is, though, with these fees is that it's for the merchant banks, not the merchants. And then the difference between those is that the merchant banks are the bank that actually handles the funds that go through in between like the merchant and the credit card company. So the credit card company can't actually be the bank due to like laws and regulations. So if you've ever set up an e-commerce store, you know this, because you have to have like a processor, and then that's what the bank is, and then eventually gets into the credit card company, or from the credit card company into your bank. There's a middle person. So the fee is actually on the middle person here, not the merchant. So, you know, in our example here, Visa isn't increasing fees for, let's say, Smiths, right? They're increasing fees on the processor that Smiths is using, or on the bank, a merchant bank that Smith is using. So the outcome, the question is, what's going to happen to prices, right? Who's going to absorb the expense? And the question is like, is a merchant bank just going to absorb the expense and let everybody get along? Probably not. They're probably going to start charging fees to the merchant. And where are those fees eventually going to go to? The customer, you know, in one form or another. So either the company or organization is going to just stop accepting Visa, which is insane. It's a crazy thing. Or they're going to increase prices at the store level. And that's the part that really relates to the small business stuff, the small to medium-sized business stuff. And that's where, you know, I try to gear the content here. So what's going to happen is, you know, what I would be worrying about as a retailer is, well, am I going to have to pay more fees? And every retailer I've talked to, every retail, e-commerce, anybody who does business hates merchant processing fees, because it's just money that you have to give away for not so much. So what's the solution? How can you guard against this? What can you do? The old school way of doing things, and I say old school, this is really something, you know, it's not that old, you know, since how long have we been using credit cards and how long have there been merchants? Not that long in the grand history of business, but the old school way to do things would be to offer some kind of cash incentive. So if you pay cash, you get a discount. And you'll see that all around, you know, the country, where people will let you pay cash for gas and you get a cheaper price, you know. And you'll see it kind of under the table with small business owners, mom and pop shops. They'll say, well, if you pay me cash, I'll give you a discount, or I won't charge you an extra fee or whatever. Now, I think that's a little bit hard to do in today's day and age because we just use less cash. So that discount doesn't apply to as many people as before. And when you're selling, you know, hamburgers or T-shirts or that type of stuff, that cash like incentive, that extra 3%, doesn't really mean that much to the transaction when your transaction is only 10 to 25 bucks on average. So the cash thing, I just don't think that that's like a real viable solution. It can be kind of. Well, let me backtrack here a second. You saw my brain like fry there for a second. But so what I wanted to say was that for the small transactions, I just don't see it there. For larger transactions, things are a little bit different. So if you're selling products that are, you know, thousands of dollars, $1,500, $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, so you're selling services that are valued at that high, then perhaps a cash incentive could absolutely mean something to you. You don't have to process a 3% fee on a $3,000 item. You know, you can save your customer some money, and you can save yourself some money too. So there's that. However, still, you know, the millennial in me, we talked about millennials last week. The millennial in me says, I don't want to deal with cash. You know, I don't want that to be the solution. The solution should be something different. And when you start looking at solutions for this, the cryptocurrency thing comes up. Okay, now I'm not a cryptocurrency expert. I've bought in some coin. I have friends that are really into it and that sort of thing. And the main reason I've been really hesitant about getting involved with Bitcoin and altcoins in general is just that it's not, there's high barriers to entry to be able to use this stuff. There's like a technological element. There's a fluctuation of like exchange rates and all this different kinds of stuff that makes it hard to use for like the layman's person. Someone who really gets into it, be like, it's not that complicated, man, blah, 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 blah. But for the layman's person, for the average dude or average gal, using it's kind of challenging. Also, for a while, there we go. So I don't know what happened to that website. Reuter said, sorry, this is what happens during a live stream. But for a while, what was I going to say? For a while, transactions were not cheap. Okay, so when there was like a big surge of altcoin or cryptocurrency users not that long ago, and transactions were not cheap. And the whole pitch behind Bitcoin and all these is that transactions should be fast and cheap, and they weren't. So here's the thing, though, is that stuff seems to be changing, at least from what I can tell. And so I did a little bit of searching. I was like, well, how can, what resources are out there for a small business or any business to start accepting Bitcoin or Litecoin or any of these other cryptocurrencies? Because I think that that's kind of the direction that might happen. We'll see, what's going to go down. But if Visa and MasterCard, they keep playing these games, I think that is an incentive for businesses to start accepting cryptocurrencies. That's an opportunity. That's a problem that needs to be solved. And someone like CoinGate or what's this other one? BitPay may be able to fill that hole. So back to what I said a second ago, I did a Google search on how to accept cryptocurrency, and a couple of these companies came up, and they seem to be kind of solving the problem a little bit here. And what do I mean by that? So the problems are, is it easy to set up? Can your customers use it quickly? And what's the deal with the transaction rate? With the exchange rate. That's the big one for me, is because from what I understand about cryptocurrencies is that these exchange rates are fluctuating all the time. They're always going up and down. And that's kind of the allure to investing in them, is that at any point in time you could buy in low and sell high. But for a retailer, you got to put a price tag on something, right? You got to put a price tag on it. And that price tag can't really fluctuate a lot. You got to have it be like, this is a $19.99 item. Okay, so how do you deal with that fluctuation in exchange rate? And these guys, for example, BitPay, at least, they seem to be willing to, or they seem to have a solution for that. I think that they, at least from a superficial level, I don't think they have a complete solution on it, because you as a business owner, you're still going to have to update that periodically. What they say here, just in this like quick value prop, is, you get the price that you sold it at, right? Now, that makes sense if you're like online retailer and you can do that all digitally and with like some kind of like AI or programming on the back end that does it. But if you're selling like T-shirts or hamburgers or something like that, you're gonna have to update your pricing, because you have to say this is $20 and this is how much it is in this other coin. Maybe not. Maybe the populace is smart enough to go, all right, it's a $20 item. I'll pay whatever $20 is in Bitcoin today for it. The fluctuation part is the part that makes me kind of question it. And again, this is just me being honest. Maybe I just don't know enough about it to really understand that part. So I'm a little bit cautious to jump full into the cryptocurrency at the retail location thing, but I'm a lot less cautious than I was months ago, or last year, when I didn't really understand anything about it. So I think there's some room there. And these companies that do this type of cryptocurrency transaction stuff, here's your chance. Visa is messing up. They're charging these retailers a lot of money. You can come in and charge 1% flat fee on any transaction. That's pretty attractive for someone who's paying 3%, right? So to you, the small business owner, small or medium-sized business owner, I keep my ears open and my eyes open for how these resources, these cryptocurrency resources, evolve in the coming months. All right, so that's it on the journey from Smiths all the way to cryptocurrency. We went a long way there. I'm going to close out some of these tabs because they're slowing down my machine. This thing's going to operate way faster now. All right, next up, before we talk about the main bay, let's have some beer. This is good beer, dude. My brother actually recommended this to me. We were at the beer store earlier this week, and he was like, dude, you got to get this beer. So he recommended it, and I got it, and good job, bro. You did it. Okay, let's talk about Alexa. So there was a survey that somebody did. Let's see here, who did this survey? Amazon Alexa is the only voice assistant that offers to announce incoming emails. And perhaps for that reason, 48% of small business owners say Alexa has the most marketing potential, according to a study released last week by Uberall. So don't know who Uberall is, but I do think that this little bit of statistic is interesting. You know what? Let's do a quick search here. Now that I got some of these tabs down, let's just see what Uberall is. Uberall, location marketing cloud. So I always try to do a little bit of backstory on the whoever did the survey, because it could be super biased. Cool. So this is maximize revenue across your locations everywhere. Convert mobile search into sales through power of location marketing. All right. So they're like a marketing tech AI interactive marketing support system. Mobile search produces immediate opportunities. Cool. So, they have an advantage. They have an incentive to, I think, promote AIs like Google Voice and these ones, because that's going to relate to mobile search. And that's probably a piece that's part of their like mobile search analytics platform. Just on, surface level search or surface level analysis. As you can see, I just literally pulled up their website and took like 2 looks at it. I don't know really that much about Uberall. It seems like, whatever survey they did isn't going to be super biased towards any particular AI, right? But yeah, I think I'll just leave it at that. Let's just see what they had to say. Okay. They say that 48% of the people they surveyed preferred Alexa over the other assistants. So Google Assistant, Apple Siri, Microsoft's Cortana, and other, which, by the way, Cortana, if anybody from Cortana ever looks at this video, fuck, Cortana is annoying. If you're using Cortana, it is annoying, man. She picks up voices and does searches that you don't want her to search. It's frustrating. So I'm surprised she even made the list. Google Assistant, almost 30% of the AI, but Alexa crushed it at 48. Now, later in this article, they did say that, in the beginning they said probably because it's email. She can read emails. That's why it's important to marketers. Later in the article, they say, somebody they quoted said that, it's not necessarily due to email, because maybe a lot of people don't actually use it for that. Even though Alexa can do it, people are kind of concerned about privacy or whatever. I understand the allure for marketers to think that, man, Alexa can read email. That means email marketing is AI, right? Yeah, but the hang up is that somebody actually has to go, hey, Alexa, read my emails, and then read through the emails, which would be kind of cool. But like, do you want your kids hearing what emails you got? Do you want your wife or anybody else hearing this stuff? Depends on who you are, right? But so I don't buy that completely. So I agree with the person I quoted here on it. I do think that Alexa is the easiest to use for small businesses because of their skill network. You can it's not that hard to go in and find the software coding to build out an Alexa skill. And you can just add it into the Alexa database, and then you could promote that you have a skill on Alexa, which that's pretty cool. And because it's the barrier to getting on Alexa is lower, I think that makes it more advantageous for small businesses. Amazon has a history of doing this kind of stuff. Like their AWS or Amazon Web Services, they basically take all the software they built for Amazon and made it like open source. You can just tap into Amazon Web Services and use it, which that's really cool of Amazon to do that. And it's given small businesses a very powerful tool. And I think that that's probably why Alexa is so popular amongst these survey respondents. And that reminds me, Alexa, remind me to make a skill on yourself. I've been meaning to make a skill. I want to do something. It's kind of like this, or maybe we read marketing articles, or we just kind of talk about headlines for like 1 minute, 60 seconds, like 60 seconds of marketing a day or a week or something like that, I think would be cool. So I have a mental note. I have it on my Trello board to make an Alexa skill one day, but I just got to find time to do it. But anyways, all right, let's move on. That was a bit of Alexa news for you. Next is Target. This one's interesting. So this one actually is the most exciting bit of news, I think, out of anything I showed you today. So what's going on is Target is opening up an e-commerce platform, and that isn't the exciting part. The exciting part is that they're opening it up to third-party sellers, right? So an independent seller can get listed on the Target platform. That is cool. That's awesome. That's a whole new marketplace where you can push stuff, and you're pushing your individual products through the Target brand. Whew, that is really cool. Now, they do say, according to Forbes here, they say that Target's being super selective about who gets on there, and it's not going to be for everybody, and you kind of had a history, and you have to jump through a bunch of hoops, which I think that that's still pretty cool. It's not going to be for everybody. So if you're selling, homemade candles or something like that, unless they're really legit, you're not going to get on the Target platform. But I think that there are probably a lot of businesses that could compete with the stuff that's already in Target. Like I buy some shirts from Target. I don't know what they're called, like the Morona or something like that. Sometimes I buy the V-necks from there. But it'd be cool to see who's in that same market space as that company that could offer some similar products, maybe a better quality or lower price or whatever. So there's a whole new competitive landscape that's going to pop up on Target or because of Target. And as such, that's going to compete with Walmart and Amazon and those groups. As far as I know, Walmart doesn't offer space to third-party sellers. It's all Walmart products. So that's fine for Walmart, and Walmart's kind of like, they're struggling to keep up with Amazon right now. And I think that if Target comes in, they're going to carve out some of that market share, and they're going to make this more advantageous for small businesses, which will make it more of like a kind of, more of like an emotionally driven thing. If Target can really buy into that and say, we believe in the power of small businesses, and that's why we're empowering all these folks and yada, 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 then there's a really cool message that can go onto there. So another one to keep your ears open and your eyes open about is how to get involved with Target, for sure. Coming down the pipe. All right. Next up, we're flipping through these pretty fast. I thought we'd take forever getting through this stuff, but we're getting through it pretty quick. I'm gonna have a sip of beer though, because we're making good time. Let's relax a little bit. Have a beer. I'm having another sip. Okay. Next big e-commerce news. Office Depot, Alibaba, combining forces to do some wild shit. Okay. What's going down is Office Depot and Alibaba have partnered to bolster what Business News Daily says bolsters American small businesses. So what's going on is, what is going on? I just read this article a second ago. Losing my train of thought. It's this beer. It's so good. So what's going down is Office Depot has like this massive bank of customers in the U.S., right? They got like 10 million U.S. business customers, 1,800 sales professionals. They got like a massive network of United States sales. Now, Alibaba has a massive network of where is their thing? They got like a ton of them. I think this, like, there we go. 150,000 suppliers. So Office Depot has the buyers, Alibaba has the suppliers, and what they're doing is just saying, hey, you like to party, we like to party, let's all party. Let's do it. You bring the beer, we'll bring the ice, we'll make it work, right? And that's what's going down. And it's kind of interesting because I think that, again, I'm not a super macro business guy, but from what I can tell, just from kind of viewing through the windows that I'm looking through, Office Depot in the last 10 years has kind of gone, kind of getting a little bit scary, right? With market share and that type of stuff. Go into an Office Depot. It's not busy. Go in there. I've gone in there a couple times to buy a couple of things, and it's dead anytime I go in there. And I think that's because of this like online retail space. Now, OfficeDepot.com, they have a pretty good system for ordering stuff. What's kind of gone on, at least, from people that I've talked to, is just businesses that I've interacted with at networking events and stuff that buy like pens or custom things or like event materials, you get those little like pens or push balls that got your company logo on them. People buy that stuff online, and more people are buying it through Alibaba. Just a couple weeks ago, I was sourcing custom made boxes off of Alibaba, right? And you can get them really, really cheap. And the difference is, or the factor is with Alibaba is that it's international. So you're talking about like international, like all kinds of companies. A lot of them are in India, kind of that part of the world. But you can take advantage of really low priced items. Now, Office Depot is saying, well, let's not try to fight that. Let's kind of put fuel on a fire and see if we can provide a better service to all of our small business customers and connect them straight through the Alibaba. And I took a look at the site. This is alibaba.com/Office Depot because it is up, and it looks pretty neat, man. Like, it's basically Alibaba. Like, you can look for stuff and you get price ranges, and then you get connected with a seller, and you got to make a proposal and do all that type of stuff. The main difference is this right here, that logo at the top. So all of these retailers are benefiting massively, at least in the United States market, from Office Depot putting their stamp of approval on it. So I think that that's going to be a big deal for small businesses. I think that if you already order through Office Depot, you may be able to find some really cheap prices doing cool stuff through Alibaba. If you've never used Alibaba before, now is maybe the time that you do. And here's another thing. So I'm going to go on a tangent here. One of the things I think about when I think about small business in America and how this whole economy works is that a small business owner doesn't get the same advantages as like a big corporation. And a lot of that has to do with economies of scale. So if you're a huge corporation, you got like dozens of offices or hundreds of offices around the country. You have big offices with thousands of employees. When you buy something, you're buying like a lot of it. And when you buy a lot of it, you have the money to take advantage of really low prices. And a lot of times you can source that stuff outside of the country. When you have that kind of money, and you have that time and the resources to research those things. And as a result, you can lower your costs. And when you lower your costs, you can increase margins. Okay, from a very simplistic perspective, that's kind of what happens. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in between there, but that's kind of what's going on. Now, the small business owner, they can't take advantage of that same economies of scale. The advantage here with this whole Office Depot Alibaba thing is that now you might be able to, right, at least lower costs some. You can make a product, you can make some custom stuff, you can order office supplies, you can do things at a little bit lower cost than you were doing before, and that lowered cost increases margin. So it's kind of giving a tool to the small business owner that allows them to compete with some of the more like corporate entities in their town or city or whatever. So I think that's just really cool. That's why I wanted to talk about it. Yeah, I just want to go order some stuff on here and see how it works out, but I'll do that at a different time, not during the live stream. All right, let's move on to the last bit of news here. And this one's a real quick thing, but I thought it was interesting because I use Mailchimp so much. But before I get into that, pause, hold the phone, let's drink some beer. Oh, by the way, I changed up the office a little bit. Before, I kind of had things on different walls. So I'm looking at myself in the camera here, but I had things on different walls. And the problem is when I do these live streams, it's like anywhere from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. In the afternoon. And the sun comes through my window and like beams me in the side of the head and creates this halo on my head for the camera. And I think I was starting to get a sunburn on this side of my face. So I flip-flopped the bookshelf and the desk, And I think it looks better. You get a little sun back there on the stuff, but I'd rather the sun be on the stuff than on my face. So, anyways. All right, let's talk about Mailchimp. So here's what's going on with Mailchimp. Mailchimp acquires Ocean Accelerator startups. So Ocean Accelerator is just like a startup accelerator program. And Sawa, hopefully I'm saying that right, S-A-W-A, was acquired. What Sawa does, I tried to look at their website, and this is what I got. So, not a whole lot of information on Sawa, but from what I can gather, excuse me, hear that? That's the beer. What I can gather is they're like a design company. They're an AI service that essentially allows you to develop like graphic design stuff. And I think what it probably does, if I had to make an assumption, is that you're able to put in brand or text or whatever, and you can create a really cool piece of graphic, maybe even GIFs or motion graphics and that type of stuff. Now, Mailchimp, they have some tools in their toolbox to make graphic stuff. And recently, I think just in the last 6 months, they upgraded that portion of their software. So like you can do more within the image editor on there. But what I'm hoping for, and again, I'm making a lot of assumptions here with what this Sawa company does. I did like a Wikipedia search and all this stuff to try to figure it out. I just couldn't do it in the time to do the live stream. So anyways, what I think is going to happen is that what you're going to get is some tools to make your emails more pretty. And that matters because this kind of relates to the competition thing that I was alluding to earlier about small business versus corporate business. And if you think about your email marketing deal, a corporate entity has like way more expensive toys to make their emails look tight. They can do like GIFs and the whole thing looks really nice and clean and whatever. And for a small business person or a medium business person, you don't necessarily have all those tools, or you can't afford the designers to build it all out every single week when you're sending out your emails. So you use a service like Mailchimp, and I like Mailchimp. I recommend it to a lot of businesses. I use it myself, right? But what hopefully is going to happen here is that small business people and people who use Mailchimp are going to get some tools to make their emails look more tight, which will allow them to kind of compete in this very graphic kind of marketplace, competitive landscape that's going on. So we'll see what happens. The article doesn't talk about when things are going to roll out, but hopefully soon, and hopefully we get some cool stuff. So anyways, that's pretty much it, y'all. I'm going to call it a day. Like I said, I'll post this on Facebook, or it is posted on Facebook now, and it's going to be on YouTube, and it's on LinkedIn, and yeah, I'm excited. I'm having fun doing these. It's a learning process. So, I'm getting better and better every single week. And, I'm picking out articles better. I know what I want, and I know what I want to try to dive into. And it's just getting more and more refined. So just in the month and a half, I think I've done 4 or 5 of these. So far, this maybe will be my 5th or 6th one. I've learned a ton by doing it. I want to have a year's worth. I want to do like 50 of them, right? Like I want to have at the end of the year or in a year from now, I want to have like 50 of these things put together. Even if I don't have a single like real viewership on any of them, I just want to have the deck of 50 of them that I've done. So we'll keep doing them. I'll see you next week. And yeah, have a good weekend. And that's it. Peace out. Drink some beer. Go have some fun. Adios. See you.